Welcome to Talking Comfort Live, a video podcast where HVAC professionals go for fun, learning, and sharing, while exploring the world of mini splits, heat pumps, and the inverter technology that brings efficient comfort to our fascinating industry. We're looking for you to be a part of the show. If you have a question, whether it centers around application, installation, preventative maintenance, troubleshooting, a future technology, or anything we share on the show, send it our way by clicking the question mark icon to the right of your screen. And you'll also see the poll icon there as well. Now, on to Talking Comfort Live.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Talking Comfort. I'm your host, Dwayne Butler. And with me today, our two co-hosts are Mr. Daniel Hamrick and Justin Salisbury. Guys, say hello to the crowd.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
So thanks for joining us today. If you're tuned into last month's show for deeper introductions, and remind you to go back to last month, we talked about the pros and cons and myths around cold climate heating. The three of us had great conversation. If you missed that show, tune back in and just review some of the topics and send us some of your thoughts on it. So we're excited to start the show. And today, Daniel, introduce the topics we have today.
Yeah, thanks, Dwayne. So today we have 5 tips to win with decarbonization. We're going to talk about winning the comfort battles of tomorrow by managing the electrification trends of today.
Exciting topics, and I think it's something we're all hearing about. And those of us that are in the industry, regardless of whether they're in the industry or not, it's something that you hear about almost daily. Is about the electrification of the United States. So you think about it, everything changes. I was thinking about this as I was driving down the road the other day about change. I happened to look down at my cell phone. Everybody's got these cell phones. I mean, they're all kind of the same. They've been at all sizes. But I was thinking about 35 years ago, I got my first cell phone, and it was in a briefcase. I mean, the size of a suitcase, and it sat on the seat beside me in the truck. So, you look at that where the cell phone was 30 plus years ago to today, change is good. Today we're going to talk about change and decarbonization and some of the things that we feel that you need to think about. But I think we all must embrace that everything is changing. So, Justin, you want to introduce our poll questions for today?
Sure. So I'll introduce the poll questions for today. We've got 3 coming up. Question number 1 is, what is one word that comes to mind when you first hear decarbonization? It's going to be kind of an open-ended, just let us know the first word that comes to your mind, but please keep it PG and professional if you can. Moving on to question number 2, and that's, do you feel you're positioned well to win with decarbonization? So our answers to that are yes, because of the specific adjustments to the business we've made, yes, because of how we've always done business, or no, but we're rethinking our approach, or no, we're not really concerned about it. So really interested to see what everybody has to say. But then question 3, that's going to be sort of a topic leading into our show next month. And that is, do you think you have a good understanding of the difference between nominal ratings and the manufacturer's extended ratings? That's yes, no, I don't understand the extended ratings, or no, I don't understand either rating system. So it's very important for next month's show when we start to talk about ratings and sizing, things like that. So again, very interested to hear your answers. We'll get back to the answers later on in the show. Also, keep in mind that we do have an interactive chat. So just keep your questions coming throughout the show. And if we see something good that we want to stop and talk about, we'll talk about it and answer your question live on air. All right, Daniel, I think you got a video segment coming up for us. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, Justin, thank you. We were recently at a meeting with our GREE Partners, and we asked them their opinion how they're affected by the move towards decarbonization. And so let's take a ride into the comfort zone and hear what they had to say.
My name is Steve Sievers. I am with EP Sales. I actually take care of 3 states with EP Sales: Iowa, Nebraska and South Dakota, and I've been with EP Sales for 2 years now. Our area is very, very dependent on gas. There isn't too many towns that don't have natural gas. So with the electrification in, let's say, Iowa or Nebraska or South Dakota, it's still a great option to look at a dual fuel type situation. So it's something that we're aware of, but it isn't as important to the people in my territory.
My name's Mary North. We're Northway marketers and cover Virginia to Maine. I personally live in Pennsylvania, and we've repped for GREE for about 7 to 8 years now. New York State has the goal to go completely electric by 2025, which is very soon here. So we're obviously following the standards of the West Coast. So we're going to see that kind of go into the following states like New Jersey, Pennsylvania. So it's happening, and it's happening quick.
My name is David Larson. I work for Gunn & Peglow out of Chicago in Illinois. We've been a GREE rep for a little over 2 years. Electrification is definitely happening all across the US, but as far as the electrification in Chicago, it's going to be a slower move than the coasts. A lot of rebates are happening right now in our territory, but we're still going to have gas-fired appliances for many years.
My name is Austin Quappell. I'm with Mitchell Enterprises. We've been repping GREE for about 3 years now for the state of Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana. It's big. At the same time, we're still a pretty big gas state, both in Texas and Oklahoma. It's going to be a big deal with our deal as far as ERCOT's concerned. And the power grid. So our biggest thing in Texas is we've had a power grid for so long, sustaining a certain number of people. Now you have all these people moving into Texas, more people consuming the same amount of power. So what GREE's doing is not only they're making products that are going to be suitable for us in the South, they're also doing it to where it's if everybody jumps on board, the power grid's not going to go out at once.
My name's Kevin McLaughlin. I've been with Gunn & Peglow out of Illinois for about 20 years. We've been in business since 1954, and we rep just for Illinois, and we're based in the Chicagoland area. Electrification in Chicago is kind of a two-tiered thing, right? On one side, you've got a blue state that is basically driving electrification. There's a lot of rebates pushing for heat pumps, but it's a very gas-focused market on the other side. So we see kind of a slow change in Chicagoland, just because it's the heart of the Midwest, and it's not going to be the first one to make those changes.
Great feedback from our partners. It's always good to hear what's going on in the field and hear perspectives from people from all over the country. So, one of the things we're talking about today is winning with electrification. As we start to talk about that, one of the key things as we talk about embracing change, I think the key thing as you start to look at electrification is to set the right expectations. I hear stories as I travel across the country, meeting homeowners, meeting building owners, and they're all interested in doing this, but they want to know, what do I do first? I think that the key thing is, number one, if you're going to win, as a contractor, you've got to correctly evaluate the site. And you need to make sure you set the right expectations. I've heard stories where, a contractor tells a homeowner or a building owner, hey, you're going to save so much money that you're literally the utility company's going to write you rebate checks. That may have happened, but, one thing I think is to take the time and really do the right analysis of the space, show the property owner, some fair numbers of what they're going to save. Make sure we're not making these great big promises that, one thing we have to talk about, we're all in this inflationary time here in the United States. And not only are they going to save some money, but who knows where you're probably more of the sell a lot of times is we're hedging against future utility increases, because as the grid loads, and transmission costs are going to rise, is that not only are you taking care of the consumer, now, but where is it going to be 3 years, 5 years, 10 years from now, based on the inflation a lot have seen in their bills over the last 3 or 4 months, or the last year especially. But I think setting the right expectations, make sure you really take the time and analyze the space. Don't just go into the space, throw out a quote without really talking to the homeowner or the building owner about what their needs are, what they're hoping to achieve. And I think as you start right with the right expectations is the first tip that I would offer from someone that's been selling for many years, is always make sure is set the right expectations and right equipment for the project. So Justin, are we at, we got the first poll results in? Over to you.
Yeah, let's take a look at the poll results for our first question, which was, what is the one word that comes to mind when you first hear electrification or decarbonization? So looks like we had a couple of answers here. One is political and the other is future. So what I'm gathering from that is a lot of people probably think this is a political move. I think there's still a lot of debate out there about electrification, global warming, so on and so forth. But I think it's important to remember that, you know, the legislation, whether or not you agree with it, it does push the engineering forward. You know, I think without legislation, we'd probably still have lead in gasoline, or we'd still be using, you know, chlorine refrigerant, things that we definitely know are certainly harmful to human health and the environment. Still have the old, you know, sear tin units, things like that. So I think it's important to keep in mind that whichever side of the aisle you fall on, the legislation does push the engineering forward, makes for better equipment, makes for more comfortable equipment. And I think, you know, that inverter technology coming out of this is very important. And then when it comes to the future, I think people probably assume that, hey, that's years down the road. I don't have to worry about it. It's in the future. Well, unfortunately, in a lot of places like California, Washington, et cetera, they're banning new gas appliance hookups, you know, for HVAC or boilers. So they have to go to full electrification. And I know it's going to be slower probably in some of the southern states, especially here in Texas, where, you know, natural gas is probably going to be around for quite a while. But it's coming. It's going to be here a lot sooner than people think. What about you guys?
I kind of think, yeah, I agree with you. I think that as you listen to our partners' feedback, is there's pockets of the country that are going to go quicker because of utility incentives, high cost of, you know, natural gas, or their own alternative fuels like propane, fuel oil, like we talked about last month. You know, and I think it's, you know, looking at all of it, I do think it's going to come in. I mean, Daniel, what do you think? What are you seeing? You're in New York today. Tell me some of the feedback you're hearing from the field where you're at.
Yeah, so that what you said about that, Justin, was really interesting to me. Is, you know, it's, you know, the legislation drives technology basically. You know, the father of invention is necessity. And so, you know, I happen to be in Long Island today, so I kind of picked up on, you know, what one of the GREE reps said there. And, you know, there's a lot of push. I feel like New York's right behind California. So whatever California's doing is pushing the rest of the country, and New York tends to pick it up pretty quickly and adopt the things that they're pushing out there. But, you know, the political part of it, at the end of the day, you know, is it practical? And how can we, you know, continue with, you know, new technology to improve quality of life, you know, how much energy we use, how much money we're spending. So back over to you, Dwayne.
Makes sense. I mean, and that kind of leads into the next, you know, tip 2 about winning with electrification. You know, is determine if it's really right for you. And, you know, in speaking to specific individuals in your buildings and your homes, you know, what is the right thing is, you know, you need to talk with your, you know, your select dealers and your knowledgeable contractors, or I'm talking to the contractors, that we as people in the industry, we've got to become experts on how to guide everybody on what's better for each other. You know, if you're in a case like in certain parts of the country where there are no natural gas and they're all in alternative fuels like propane, fuel oil, electrification is a simplified, easy way to go, because they're automatically going to see some savings. It's going to reduce deliveries to their homes and things like that. But then they have to look at evaluate the whole envelope. You know, a lot of times what we kind of do is we look at the heating side of it, but there's also the domestic hot water side of it, and some other things that people have, you know, gas fireplaces and other things where they're maybe still going to need an alternative fuel source to meet their needs of their space. So I think as we look at this, one of the things that's key is that we select and we recommend the right process or the right equipment. You know, make sure we apply it correctly, because there's cases, and maybe we do a lot of business in Canada where it gets down to minus 30C or minus 22F all the time. And when a heat pump COP drops below 1, maybe it's better to go back to the natural gas for more economics. So I think really understanding all the terms, and we'll talk more about that next month, really understanding COP, HSPF, all the different ratings that we all talk about, but understand how they affect the system that you're recommending to the space, to me, is one of the key things that we do next. So Justin, over to you for the next topic.
All right. So question number 2, we asked, do you feel you're positioned well to win with electrification? So our answers are, we had a 50-50 split here. We said yes because of specific adjustments we've made, and yes because of how we've always done business. So it seems like somebody's been training their people to embrace the new technology. They're training on it. They're focusing their sales and applications on it. So it's great to hear. And then, if somebody's comfortable with it because of how they've always done business, that just tells me that, they've probably always been open-minded, always wanted to embrace that new technology, not afraid to take a risk. So that's great. Glad to see that, people aren't answering no. So I think that really kind of shows all the salespeople out there that, contractors are ready to move forward full speed ahead and tackle this problem. So leading into that, our next tip, number 3, you really need to know the proper applications for this. If you don't know your applications, you don't know what the equipment can do, you're not going to win in the coming technology changeover. So obviously you want to start off by knowing how to do your heat load calculations. You need to know how much cooling the structure needs, how much heating the structure needs. And then you go and actually select the equipment based off the extended ratings to tell, hey, this is the right equipment for the space. But you also want to know, are you going to go with a centrally ducted system like a flex? Are you going to go with a multi-zone system like a muti-pro? You have to know these things, because if you want to go with a ducted system, but there's not any room in the structure to run ductwork, well, that's not a good application for a flex, right? You can't scrunch down a 20-inch duct in an 8-inch space. You're going to have some airflow issues. Is it residential versus commercial? If you're wanting to put a high wall in a commercial kitchen, for example, not a good application. They have specific types of equipment to address, specific types of applications in commercial. So while the inverter-driven equipment can do a lot, and it's fantastic equipment, it's not magic. You can't just slap it into any application or any structure and just expect it to perform. It's not going to happen. So you got to know what your equipment can do. So Daniel, want to give us tip number 4?
Yeah, so thanks, Justin. Really good points there. Tip number 4 for winning with electrification, is be an expert installer. Now, I just happen to be traveling today on the road and going to do a installation and troubleshooting class tomorrow, and talk about a lot of the the specifics to the product that we sell regarding installation. But it's like you were saying, Justin, from the ground up, that's where it begins. From the time you take out the tape measure, you show up at the homeowner's house and you take out the tape measure and you take measurements, and deciding what type of equipment would be best for them. And then following industry standards and best practices always. And if you're not a manager I used to always ask me, what was I feeding myself with? And what he meant by that was, after you're done with the day, you're kind of tired, you get home, are you pulling up a YouTube and going, hey, I want to learn about that new product that they came out with that I'm not sure about, that I may have to work on in the future or install in the future. And so, even though sometimes people complain at me because they think that I eat, breathe, and sleep HVAC, it's something that excites me. It's a way of life for me. And so in the evening, I do spend some time to try to catch up on things. It's hard to stay at the tip of the spear if I'm not, consulting Justin or talking with Dwayne about what he's seeing in sales and asking Justin, what's the new legislation that's coming out that we need to address and all these different things. So, anyways, Dwayne, I believe you have
very good
share with us.
points. Very good points. And I think, the three of us, we travel extensively across the United States and Canada. We meet a lot of our great partners. And, one of the things when I'm training, I put out to young men and women that are coming in this trade, I say, when you come in, to point to what Daniel said, when you've been in the business 5 years, do you want to have 5 years experience or 1 year's experience 5 times? And I think that no matter the age of the person and in whatever industry they're in, constant improvement keeps you sharp. And when you do something, we all, as you can tell, we all love HVAC. We talk it, we breathe it. I talked to Justin last. What time did I call you last night, Justin? 9 o'clock. I'm on a tractor and I'm talking, but it's a great industry, and it's a changing industry. It doesn't stay the same. And I think that's what we're talking about now, is embracing change. And as we travel around the country, I've been on the road a lot this year. I've been very impressed as I see the industry. Sometimes skilled tradespeople get kind of a black eye, but I'll tell you what, from a guy that's been around a while, I see a lot of great young men and women in this industry embracing, especially our GREE products, that are ready, and they're ready for what's coming as far as electrification. They know what's needed. They're doing the things, and it's just remembering to do it. I think it's just great to listen to what you're saying, Daniel, because you do the tech side, you see the things that we need to do, and understanding how to correctly apply this and commission it and start it up right and apply it in the home is key to what you're saying, I believe.
And how incredible to see younger guys and gals in the classes, eager to learn.
Yes, it's really encouraging for us. It tells us that we really are making a difference. So let's flip over, and we're going to talk about a product that we really like with Appion. It's a tool that you need for the job. So take a minute and see a little bit about Appion products that we really are fans of.
Hello, Dwayne from GREE here. I'm here with my friend Jake from Appion. Hello, Jake.
How's it going?
So Jake's going to take us through the product line and show us some of the features and benefits of the Appion evacuation machine. And he's also going to talk to us about the recovery machine. I actually own this machine right here personally. When it goes to recovering refrigerant, one of the things we're all looking for is efficiency.
Oh, absolutely. And the most important thing is that we're trying to get as much liquid refrigerant as we can out and then finish it off with vapor. So imagine just filling up a bucket on mist or putting that thing to full and ripping the liquid. And of course, the liquid is much, much more dense. So that's how you're going to get that efficiency. Thankfully, our machine is strong enough and will run years and years of recovering that liquid and vapor with no problem.
I'm an old service technician, and one of the things we're really looking for is ease of maintenance and longevity.
Yep.
So from the field side of a service technician, what kind of ongoing maintenance would I have to think about?
You're going to have, certain seals that wear over time. That's going to be with any machine. One thing that we do offer is we have repair kits, and the main thing is going to be best practices using a filter dryer. We have a filter screen on the inside of our inlet filter, but thankfully, due to the design of our machine, it has just an inherent nature of lasting longer because of how it pulls the refrigerant out in regards to its internal components.
So let's talk about something else that's really near and dear to us in the ductless and VRF business. That's proper evacuation. It's important to have a clean, dry system to make sure you got long life.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. What's important with evacuation is vacuum pump oil. Keeping a low vapor pressure, which our vapor pressure on this oil is less than 1 micron. Keeping that vapor pressure low, you're going to want to keep contaminants and moisture out of the oil. With some traditional sumps, it's kind of hard to change the oil on the fly, and this, you're able to change the oil without ever breaking vacuum. You can see right here is where our cartridge ends up, so you get nasty oil from contaminants, moisture, trap it in that cartridge, pop that one right out, and then you got a new fresh one, keeps that one in, and that just makes that clean oil maintain that low vapor pressure so we can keep the seal.
Very important to keep that. Some other tools that they have that I personally really like are these adapters.
When you have a T-fitting, both ends are coming in direct opposition of each other. So when that flow comes in, it creates turbulence inside of the fitting, and you're trying to pull through that turbulence, which actually slows down the flow. So you have a Y fitting like this, the flow is coming in and the flow paths just merge perfectly because they aren't coming into opposition of each other. They're already going in the same way and they merge together, and it just dumps flow much better than a manifold or a T-fitting.
One thing about Appion, they've studied the industry and they've adjusted to the needs of the industry. As you look at all their products, these are things that are going to make you more efficient. They're going to help you be a better contractor, better service tech in the field. Well, Jake, thank you a lot. So we thank our friends in Appion for taking the time to go through the products with us. And thanks again for watching again at GREE. We're always by your side.
Excellent video, Dwayne. And thank you to our friends with Appion. That's really great information. Kind of goes right with our be an expert installer. Make sure we have the right tooling to do the job correctly, right? So we're going to offer tip number 5 for winning with electrification is select the correct thermostat. So when we talk about thermostats, there's several different types of thermostats out there, and specifically for the Flex product, a heat pump with 24-volt control, you want to select a 2 heat 1 cool a heat pump thermostat, and you want to set it up correctly. So our GREE partners were talking about gas remaining in some of the areas like Chicago, kind of still hanging on through those areas, and a lot of talk about dual fuel and that sort of thing. Having been out of the industry for a little bit and then come back into it, I had missed the fact that we didn't use dual fuel control boards anymore. And it was built into the thermostat. So selecting the correct thermostat, but not just that, making sure that you have someone that's knowledgeable and willing to pull out the instruction manual and read through and set it up correctly. Take into account the balance point when you need electric heat and when you don't need electric heat. So you want to keep the heat pump running as long as possible, to save energy. And so, that's just a really important part of deciding what you're going to install. So, and then looks like we have last questions from the audience on our next segment. Do we have anything out there?
I have one from Dean at OMC HVAC, and he asked, please explain in detail how air source heat pumps are able to provide heat in sub-zero outdoor air temperatures. So with that, we'd like to refer to our YouTube page, GREE Comfort, and we show here how a heat pump achieves cold climate heating. That's presented by our technician, Greg Bruntz. He does a fantastic job of going through and explaining how our compressors work, especially with that hot vapor gas injection. So please go to the YouTube page, check that out. We answer that question in detail. And while you're there, check out our other videos.
Great. Kyle, he goes through it step by step. And I think as you watch this video, audience, you'll see that GREE, where we really excel is, and they're designed to heat and cold climate, and what they do is second to none. So that brings us to the close of our show today. So on behalf of Daniel and Justin and myself, we want to say thank you. It's you, the contractor, the dealer that we do this for. Daniel, any closing remarks there? I'm sorry to speak over you there.
Oh, no worries. Thank you, Dwayne. And thank you everyone out there for being here today and joining us. Really excited that we were able to do this, even if we were remote.
Justin?
I wanted to thank everybody for taking the time out of their day to watch and join us. Please be aware that we will be doing our YouTube premiere this Thursday. We'll just be kind of replaying the video, but we will be there for a live interactive chat. So if you didn't get a chance to watch live with us today, join us on Thursday on YouTube and ask questions, and we'll be there to interact with you live.
Thank you, guys, and thank you, audience. We do this for you. It's not just for us to get on here and talk. So, we're going to be looking for future topics in the future. Send us through the chat things you'd like for us to talk about. We say here at GREE, we're by your side, and we mean it. Without you, the contractor, the installing dealer, none of us have a job. You're the ones that go out in the trenches, get underneath the houses on the cold roofs in the snow and in the heat in the summer. We want to make your lives better, make you more profitable. We're by your side. On behalf of the team, again, thank you for joining, and we hope to see you soon. Take care and have a good day.
Hey, thanks for watching Talking Comfort Live with GREE HVAC. Make sure to keep a lookout for an invite to our next show, or subscribe to our GREE Comfort YouTube channel to make sure you get notified anytime we release new content.